Everybody, GGWorks again, back in the room. How's everybody doing today? Well, I can safely say I've got my bandsaw finally working. Thank you for coming and viewing this. This has been an ongoing saga for the last probably maybe 8 months to a year of me acquiring the bandsaw and then finally putting it together and getting it working. And then I built it back up. As I was building it back up, I noticed there was a few problems with it. One is that I noticed that the yoke underneath, as you can see here, that yoke there was actually, I think the bandsaw must have fallen over. And what happened is it broke this yoke here. Let me see. Just here, this piece here. And because it broke it, somebody welded all the connections again, but they didn't do a very good job because it was all out. Well, in fact, grossly out. As you can see here, see where the slot is, where my finger is. That's where the blade should be. So this wasn't actually straight, so I had to first shim that up with some spacers to get this plate absolutely straight. And now if you put a square on here, and you can see it's actually parallel. I'll come around here. This is actually 90 degrees or perpendicular to this bottom plate. So now it's absolutely straight. Before it was at an angle, it wasn't cutting straight. This was a huge groove in here, so I just welded this all closed again, and then I cut a new groove in here, and that's why you see it like that. What I did, I had the old style, didn't have these bearings on here, just had these metal guides that pushed up against the side, and they were bent, they weren't straight, and because this is offset, they had a round tube in here. Now this round tube, what the whole thing was doing, it was pivoting. So when you cut something, it would twist, because it's not an actual hex. So I actually had to buy a hex bar, the right size, which I think that's 3/4 or 7/8, I can't remember. This is all imperial, by the way. Kind of difficult. I'd rather have metric, but this was built in, what, I presume the 50s. Just a home saw. There's nothing fancy, and it's not a big one. And then I bought the piece, and then I started to make up this bracket. Bought my bearings and made extra brackets, as you can see here. All homemade job, all around here. I can show you here. And then got that, so it actually uses bearings to guide that blade, so it's absolutely smooth. I changed the blade to, I don't know if you can focus in here. See if we can focus in here. You can see it's a high-speed steel blade, but it's got more teeth. Can't remember how many teeth it has. And I think this is 72, the size of it. Now these pulleys here are 9-inch, but the opening here on the throat, as far as you can, okay, I modified this, so I had to trim that right down, cut this piece up, so when I tuck this up, it's nice and close. Let me just see, that goes right up there. That's as high as it can't really go any higher because I'm very close to all the brackets and things like that. But that gives me just about 5.5 inches of cutting ability. And I did cut a 4-inch post, and it was dead straight. The other thing that I had to do is this was super rusted. So it took me a long time to get this plate absolutely smooth again and nice. I might still glue it, just to protect it a bit more, but it's nice and smooth. What I'm trying to do is still trying to find a mitre 90 degree to slide in here, but I can't because of this size here. It's not your average size. This is let me see, I think it's 6 mil wide by 5 mil deep. So And of course all the other ones for table saws, etc., are bigger than that. The only way I can do is it's nothing off the shelf I can find anyways. The only thing I can do is I have to mill down a maybe square bar and then make up my own piece. Now I do have some plates that I'm going to bolt onto the side on this side and on that side here, so that I can have a nice, and I can get my square and slide it up and down, so whatever I cut is perpendicular, and that'll keep everything nice and straight. The most difficult one that I found was I also had to make the ones underneath there. There's not a lot of room in there. So that one is really made, that set of bearings, of course it didn't come with that. It was very hard to tack that, to get it all the brackets right, to get it so it's tucked up in there and doesn't impede the performance. So that was kind of difficult to do, but I got it done. And now the saw track's absolutely straight. I can cut metal, wood, and then so that's the bandsaw done. It didn't have a switch. I had a little AC household switch on it. I bought this box here, nothing fancy. I bought this box, rewired it inside, added my own cables, just attached it with a little P-clip on there. And then down, when I rebuilt the electric motor, changed all the bearings. What I did here is I bolted on a hinge. Made up my own bracket here, bolted on the motor. So now it's just under its own weight. That keeps the tension in the belt. Then this frame, that was the original frame, but as you can see here, the wheels were bolted on here, so it was very short. So it wasn't at a nice height. So what I did is I made two extensions, put the wheels on the bottom, so now it's slightly higher. Good height to work with. It's just almost chest height, this plate, and you can cut a lot of stuff. As you can see, the belt, I used just this endless links, very good. And then with that, just cut the hole in there, and then just the weight of the motor actually keeps the drive on there. Again, that's the original ones, and then the extension that I put on there. I'll cover this up. I'll get a cover on there. I'll also put a cover over here, because this is a spinning thing here, so I want to protect that a little bit by putting some sort of cover over there. I don't know yet, but I'm working on it. But now I've got a bandsaw. It will cut most things. It cuts metal. It cuts all sorts of goodies, which is really, really good. It took me a bit of time once to make the parts, to get the right bearings, to get a blade, because you can't get these blades. This is an old machine. I wouldn't say it's very industrial. It's sort of a home gamer type bandsaw, but for what I need it for, it does the job. Cuts things, and especially when I got some metal work to do, obviously I've got my cut-off saw here that'll do the big stuff, and then when I need some little cuts, put in the bandsaw, do little chamfers, whatever like that, and then I use my belt sander here to smooth it all out. This is what there was a previous video on that one, making that one, and that should get me most things. What I'll do is I'll add a light to it just to make it easy to see. A guide on here. I'm hoping to make this checker plate. I'll cut this. I'll just offer this piece up so you can get an idea. I'll cover the sides with that checker plate like that. And I'll do it on all four sides. One will have a hinge so that you can get into the belt. That's my plan. But I've been wanting this for a very long time, and yeah, I could buy one, and getting this size would be expensive. At least over 1,000, I would think, for this sort of size. But I'm not an industrial environment. I don't need something that's $2,000 or $3,000 Canadian dollars, actually. But for me, for this was given to me free. All I needed to do was get it working again, and it was difficult because things were so far out of whack with the table. Table wasn't straight. The bands weren't straight. I had the, I'll show you, in fact, I'll show you the old guides. I've got my goodie box here of, this was on the bottom, and this one was on the top, and you can just see it's just those guides there that doesn't hold anything. You can see the grooves in there, so the blade was not cutting straight at all. It's way off. So that was all straightened up, got it into alignment, and then now these are just extra parts. That's the actual post that was used, a round post that was actually put in here to hold that. And of course, how's that going to be nice and sturdy when it's something that's round? That'll just rotate. So that's why I went back to the hex, made up my bracket here, bolted it on so it doesn't flex, it doesn't move. Adjustability, Amazon for bearings, nice small bearings, and then I just made up my own plates and extra goodies. All these are painted. These knobs, these are not original. These knobs I bought again from Amazon. The switch, the wiring, all Amazon. This plate here I just made up myself, just because there was no plate on it. It was supposed to be like this. That's the original one, and of course don't have another one, so I just made up a little thing to stop the dust and dirt getting in there. This is just 3/4 ply, chamfered with a router, and just screwed it onto there. But this will be all covered up so that hardly any dust will get into the motor, and is on wheels. I can still wheel it around. So, and this just works like that. And I'll protect, I'll cover that up, so because don't have too many moving parts spinning around. The original, it was a Craftmaster, but I would say it's now modified, which is far from the Craftmaster now. The blade is changed, got proper bearings to hold that blade absolutely straight, perpendicular to the plate. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get a little square. I got my wee square here, and just to show you, back to here, here's my wee square, absolutely straight. If I put that on there, as you can see, perpendicular to the plane. That's what more important, that it cuts straight, perpendicular. The back is slightly out, but not by much. You can see at the bottom, you can see, I don't know if you can see a bit of space there, and then she's flush at the top there. I'll just slide this back here, put that here. You can see the bit of a space there, nothing at the top. So she's got a bit of an angle, but that's as far as I can get it. It doesn't need to be absolutely straight. I think for what I do, it's it does the job. It's pretty square, but most important is that the blade does not flex, and and that is perpendicular to the plate in front. So that's my bandsaw. So I'm slowly starting to go up. My next task that I'm working on, I'll just show you here, is this table saw. This was a small table saw, again, it was free, and I've made some wheels, you can see there. Made these brackets where this fits on, took everything apart, but that'll be another video. That'll come up, but this is about my bandsaw. So, hope you liked the video. If you want to modify, change your own tools, it's great. It just takes a bit of time, and I'm almost finished with it. And now it can actually be used in anger. So thanks very much for watching. There's other things I've got in the pipeline. There's still my wheel alignment that I need to show. There's the table saw that's coming along, and various other goodies. So cheers and thanks for watching.